Alright everyone, I just want to give you a quick rundown on the deck profile that I did use for this game. I was just very excited for the new Structure Deck 10 that came out recently in Japan. So I took the core of that and then mixed it with a better sort of engine with the red cards and not just the purple cards that came out inside that deck. But as you can see, a lot of it is coming from the Law synergy. In the standard structure deck, they give you between 3 leaders to choose from of Law, Luffy, and Kid. I thought that Law was easily the best of the 3. He, running at a 4 life, 5,000 leader. He had a really interesting effect. I think it's very unique for the One Piece TCG. Something you saw a lot in Yu-Gi-Oh, which was bouncing cards from the field, not necessarily KOing them, but being able to remove them. It's really powerful from what I was seeing, being able to play. But it seems that there's sort of 3 engines going on in this, right? I have Law's engine with all of his teammates. I run 3 Beppo, 4 Gene Bart, and then 4 Penguin. The main thing is that Penguin's very early game. He's a really weird effect by himself, being a 4 cost on play. If there are 3 down or less in your field, add 2. So he's really just made for the synergy of Law, because then Law would bounce something back and then summon him. And then if you use him in the first 2 or 3 turns, really, you'll be able to have that -3 Dawn, and then on play, you'll have 3 or less Dawn. So you're really only going -1. After that, you sort of continuously do that as your turns go. You add Beppo on play, and then on attacking, you get 1 Dawn from your deck and add it. So again, it's you go -3, but then you're using his crewmates to be able to diminish the neg that you're going. And Gene Bart, he's just another add 1 to hand. From your Dawn deck, but this time it's as active instead of being rested. But I kept Beppo at 3. I wasn't sure how I was going to enjoy having him all the time, because I would never start with him. I would rather have Penguin on my in my first hand, so I can start the engine. I honestly think it really is Penguin into Beppo into Gene Bart, but Beppo and Gene Bart can kind of go back and forth, but Beppo's like the one that you want to care about more. I just like Gene because it makes one of your Dawn as active, right? I put the Laws in there as a 4/2, just because I haven't used them that much in the games that I've played. The Dawn, this Law is a 3/5. When you attack them, you peak 5, you look for a Hearts Pirates, so it allows you kind of get into your Law engine a little bit, but just over and over again, especially since you can mulligan at the beginning of the game, I find that a lot of times I find most of these cards in my hand. And then I put a 4/5 blocker Law, which is fairly straightforward. I want to make sure to have a couple blockers and save myself and build up my Dawn turn to turn. But on play, I can Dawn -1 if your opponent has more cards, 7 or more cards in hand. I can just discard 2, right? So that kind of does it for the Law engine. I put for the Luffy engine, I kept it pretty straightforward. I put 4 Chopper for your blocker. I put 4 Otama just because she plays really well with Law as your leader. She's a -2,000 on play to any of your opponent's characters. I put 2 Zoro just because, again, he's a rush. He's a 3/5, which is always just a good card to have. I toyed with the fact of adding more, but I found it hard to put everything into this deck that I wanted to. You really had to pick and choose for those 50 cards. And then one of them that I'm not too sure of, I almost did Nami just for the searchability, but I wasn't running many Straw Hats, so it didn't really make sense. I have 2 Brook. Not only is he's a 2K counter, but on play I can use the 2 Dawn that I used as rested and put it onto one of my characters. So it's like I get to use the most out of my Dawn each turn. And then for the Kid engine inside this deck, I really like this Kid card. I honestly might bump it up a little bit, but I only have Kid and Wire. I have a two Kid cards at a 5/6. He's a blocker, and once per turn, if any effect uses the -Dawn effect, I can actually take a Dawn from my deck and set it as active. So whatever effect I use, I get at least a +1 from my Dons because of him. So that's pretty cool. And then Wire is also a blocker. and he's again one of those guys that kind of lets me get forward into my deck. When a Don card is returned to my Don deck with that kind of effect, because of purple cards, I get to draw one, trash one from my hand. After those 3 engines, for the most part, I have my draw power. I put 4 queens. Queens are pretty standard, and you see a lot in a lot of Katakuri decks, not Katakuri decks, Kaido decks. He's a 6 blocker, which is always good. But at Don -1, I can draw 2, trash 1 from my hand. Just gets me further into the game. And then I put 2 Alma Sunday. I thought it was a pretty good tech card. On play, I can add 1 rested Don for my cost area. I just get, again, another Don quickly to my field, because I'm going to be using the -3 from my leader as much as possible. And if I have 6 or more Don in my hand or on the field, I get to draw a card. So it's just nothing but plus. I don't like her trigger, but I'm not going to ever use her trigger. As for event cards, I was really looking to see what to put in here. I didn't want to just put nothing but monsters, characters, I guess you would say. And I came across something called Round Table, which was a 4-cost red. At main, give one of your opponent's characters minus 10,000 power during this turn. Dude, wow! Talk about like crazy. And I doubt that any other cards or decks at this current point in time are using Round Table, which makes sense because there's no real need for this minus 10,000. Most times you can run over your opponent's characters, but this way I -4, and then even though those Dawn are rested, I can still use my leader effect to Dawn -3 from my rested pool of cards to basically target any character on the field that I don't like. So it gives me just a lot of control on the map presence, or field presence. I apologize. I put 2 guard point. It's just a good counter. Plus 3,000 to anyone, and I'm trying to play on the NA ban list rules, so I only have 1 of my Radical Beam, if you don't know it, to get cut up, so you can only run 1 of it in a deck now. This is the star of the deck. The card that I've wanted to be able to play more than anything, Luffy. On play, and I realized that after rewatching the game that I did it wrong. I was supposed to rest the 10 Don, play him, then a -10 Don back to deck when he's played as his effect, and then I take all of my characters, put them back, and I get that extra turn, and it's hard because it is not something you just want to do right away, right? Only because like you're losing all of your progress, and then going back to hey, I can attack you with this 12k. On my new turn, and then my leader, because he gets set to active again on the new turn. But I start with 3 Dawn, and so like especially so late in the game, it's hard to say that hey, that's my trump, that once I play him that like I'll be able to win, because there's an easy chance that if I'm not killing you that turn, if I'm not getting all of your life cards out, that I don't have any blockers, I don't have anything else on my side of the field, right? You can just ignore this 12k Luffy and just run for my leader. So you really want to be careful on when you play this, which is why I only had it at 2, but I'm thinking of pushing it up a little bit more. But again, I want to be able to float with the other main decks. And then as just like a one of tech, I saw this card and I thought he was just really good. A lot of my monsters or characters in this deck run at like 5,000, 6,000 range and don't go any higher. So it was good to see like something like this. Right, an 8k10 with a really broken effect. You know, activate main once per turn, a Dawn -4. I can rest 2 of my opponent's characters, which then gives me 2 targets. Right, anything of a cost 6 or less, which is pretty crazy. And he gets double attack, which I arguably think is probably the most broken effect in all of One Piece TCG right now. I think it just breaks the synergy so hard if you get hit by that. So. I hope everyone enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoyed this deck profile. Try it out. Tell me what you guys think. And with that, this is your captain. This is Jetfire signing out. Have a nice day, everyone.